This is a complete disjuncture between objective reality and what is being portrayed by the President of the United States. This is actually a State of the Union which is in dire condition, as well as the planet in dire condition.
My name is Danny Sheehan. I'm a constitutional litigator who's worked some of the most important cases in modern American history. From Pentagon Papers, the Watergate scandal, to Iran-Contra. My legal career has led me now to this pivotal moment. As our human family confronts the implications of the existence here on our planet of extraterrestrial or extra-dimensional non-human species. I will be your guide as we dive into the profound philosophical, theological, and public policy questions pertaining to the UFO phenomenon, alien life, and the citizen movement for disclosure. This is the Full Disclosure Podcast, coming to you from the New Paradigm Institute on SpectraVision Radio.
Following the President's State of the Union address to the combined Congress, the House and Senate, there's lots of discussion about the fact that it was the longest and the most protracted in history, 250-year history of the State of the Union. It was riddled with complete falsehoods, which are just objectively clear. You know, he started out by asserting that when he took office, it was the highest rate of inflation in decades, and in fact, the highest rate of inflation in history, which is transparently untrue. There have been 2 or 3 other times in history when the rate of inflation was higher, and he continued to lie throughout the beginning of his presentation. And he didn't address at all the fact that without any consent from Congress whatsoever, he had deployed the greatest naval armada in the history of the world into the waters just off Iran. He has deployed 3 full-scale aircraft carrier battle groups to the Iranian waters. He is overtly threatening to bomb with missiles and air attacks. He's deployed over 120 United States fighter planes equipped with massive artillery to deliver onto the country of Iran more firepower than was delivered throughout the entire World War II without any consent whatsoever from Congress. What we want to address today in the State of the Union is the fact that the United States Congress, presently under the control by a tiny minority of approximately 3 or 4 votes in a 435-member House of Representatives, and by only 3 or 4 votes in a Senate of 100 senators, that he has gotten the United States Congress under this very narrow control of the Republican Party to acquiesce directly in the face of him unilaterally taking steps that have never been taken by any presidents in the past, to the point where he has now ultimately confronted the United States Supreme Court. And even his own appointees, all but one, have ruled against him in his unilateral declaration of tariffs throughout the world. And the United States Supreme Court, only 4 out of the 9 even agreed to appear at his State of the Union announcements. Okay, so this is a major time of confrontation going on in our country, and it's going on the planet. We have Russia, as we all know, still bombing as we gather together today, still bombing away at the Ukraine. We have Israel having devastated Gaza with equipment all provided by the United States government, and there was virtually no talk about that in the State of the Union address. The people in the Ukraine are having their entire electrical grid system totally destroyed in 40-degree below weather, one of the coldest winters in history in the Ukraine, without lights, without heat, without electrical power. And there's no mention of it virtually at all in the State of the Union address. This is a complete disjuncture between objective reality and what is being portrayed by the President of the United States with the acquiescence of the Republican leadership in the Congress. This is actually a State of the Union which is in dire condition, as well as the planet in dire condition. Global climate change is running not only unchecked, but the President of the United States, Donald Trump, is unilaterally, through executive orders, actively and aggressively disassembling every single federal program that has been designed to try to forestall global climate change. And he is now demanding a massive increase in the United States military budget. And he's bragging to the country about having thrown women and children off the food stamp program and transferring those saved monies over to the wealthiest 1% of the people in the country in the form of massive new tax reductions to them. This is a dire condition that we find ourselves in. Okay, rather than a rosy State of the Union in which he has asserted that we are in the beginnings of a golden age of the United States. This is absurd, and it is terribly dangerous to have this disjuncture between objective reality and the condition of the country and the planet that is being portrayed by a president of the United States with the acquiescence of a tiny, thin majority of the Republican Party in the House and Senate. So there's a showdown that is in process of going on right now. Therefore, there is a confrontation that is brewing, that the Democratic Party and some unique small portion of the Republican Party have joined together in trying to compel the Justice Department of the Trump administration to reveal the information, the full information that is contained in the Jeffrey Epstein files. Now, this major challenge to the unilateral executive authority of President Trump is being mounted out of the House Oversight Committee with a special task force that they have, 12-person task force that has been assigned by the Congress to compel disclosure of certain key secret information, which is in the hands of the agencies of our United States executive branch. The primary one that we hear the most about is the Jeffrey Epstein files. But a second major confrontation is brewing over the issue of the UFO and ET, extraterrestrial life issue. Both of these issues are the subject matter of the jurisdiction of the task force on government secrecy, basically, that is in the House Oversight Committee. And an extraordinarily important thing has taken place this past week, and that is that in the midst of all of the pressure on Donald Trump and the Justice Department to release all of the Jeffrey Epstein files, President Trump issued a tweet on his website asserting that he was going to direct the head of the Defense Department and the head of the other agencies in the executive branch that possess information about the UFO phenomenon and about extraterrestrial life. He was going to direct them to identify the documents pertaining to this subject and to begin the process of disclosing them. That is what he said. Okay? Now, the fact of the matter, that is what he had said earlier about the Epstein files, that he promised repeatedly in his campaign that he was going to direct the public release of all of the Epstein files. And it's perfectly evident that he did not do that. That not only did he not do that, but he has participated in directly obstructing the release of major portions of the Epstein files. With the President of the United States directly informing the American public in his State of the Union that the entire Democratic Party and the members of the House and Senate who are Democratic Party members are crazy and should not be respected at all by the people of the country. The question that is posed to us is, what do we do now? What we are proposing at the New Paradigm Institute is that we attempt to follow upon all of the activity that's being undertaken to disclose the Jeffrey Epstein files with a major campaign to organize and educate the American people to follow in the path of the Epstein confrontation that's going on, with a similar uprising on the part of the American citizenry to demand the public disclosure of all of the UFO and ET information. That's what we're doing. So the New Paradigm Institute is now mounting a major project to distribute pledge cards to all of the members of the Citizens for Disclosure. That is a major project of our New Paradigm Institute. We have groups of Citizens for Disclosure in 35 of the 50 states right now. We're going to be completing the process of having organizations in each of the 50 states. And then we are going to be moving to have a Citizens for Disclosure group in each and every one of the 435 congressional districts for the upcoming elections that are going to be taking place in November of this year, just 9 months from now. Okay. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be distributing pledge cards. And every time there is a public debate between or among the candidates for the House seats and for the 33 Senate seats that are up for election this November, we're going to have people step forward and demand that each of the candidates takes a position as to whether or not she or he, if elected, will support the full disclosure on the part of the executive branch and the full disclosure on the part of the Congress to the American people of all of the information that is in the possession of the federal government pertaining to the UFO phenomenon and the existence of extraterrestrial life, not only in our universe, but in fact directly in our Milky Way galaxy, and in fact here on our planet, to be revealed to the American public. Okay. And in fact, we are starting to have responses now on the part of newscasters in major news outlets confronting candidates. For example, just 10 days ago in Chicago on the ABC television network, the three major candidates for the Democratic Party nomination for the United States Senate to fill the now vacating seat of the United States Senate by Dick Durbin, that all three of the major candidates were confronted on the ABC television by the host of the news show, demanding whether they are willing to support full disclosure of the UFO issue if elected. Krishnamurti, the leading candidate, said absolutely that he would support absolute full disclosure. The lieutenant governor, who is running for election, completely dodged the question, saying that she's not even responding to the question, saying my focus is simply on the cost of living and what the costs of groceries are and the cost of education and gasoline. And the third candidate, Kelly, her name is, who is a congressperson from, a Democratic congressperson from Illinois, just said she was willing to support the disclosure of the information, but she was extremely concerned about the national security questions, and that therefore there might have to be some significant amount of the information kept secret because of national security, which she doesn't even probably be able to pass a test on. So that we've seen now the spread of potential responses on the part of the candidates. We are going to be distributing not only the pledge cards to be signed by the actual candidates, but we're going to be distributing information to our citizens through the Citizens for Disclosure groups to be able to ask the question at all of the town hall meetings and to all of the major press outlets when they're doing press interviews of the potential candidates. Okay, so this is going to be an extremely important response on our part to try to do two things: to basically put pressure by the citizenry directly on the president and on the members of the House and Senate to support the full public disclosure of this information. Our opinion is that the revelation of this information about the reality of the UFO phenomenon and about the reality of the existence of this highly intelligent, highly technologically developed, but distinctly non-human civilization here in our galaxy, and the presence of these beings here on our planet is a revelation that can be so important in bringing our people together, not to try to fight these beings and to set up a dialectic against them, but rather to step forward together collectively and take advantage of the extraordinary opportunities that are presented by this reality, because it is quite clear that these beings have access to some form of energy that is capable of replacing the petroleum on our planet as the primary source of mechanical and electrical energy here on our planet, which is primarily responsible for the massive climate change that we're all experiencing. And the other thing is that it can help elevate the understanding of our human species as to where we actually are in the universe, that we're not the peak and pinnacle of all sentient life in the universe, and therefore we ought to, as a human family, come together as a positive alliance among all of our people to address in some constructive and mutually beneficial way our relationship with this extraterrestrial civilization. This is an extraordinarily important opportunity for our human family at this point, and it can help solve this problem of division between the political parties in our country right now, because this is probably the most important nonpartisan or bipartisan issue, because all of the members of the major power inside the Republican Party support the revelation of this information, as do the Democratic Party. And so that this is an opportunity for bringing these disparate forces together in our human family and to take advantage of the opportunities to solve some of the major problems on our planet. Okay, so this is the State of the Union here. This is going to be an extraordinarily important undertaking on the part of our American people here during the upcoming electoral process, and it is going to be a proper response to the actual State of the Union. Thank you very much. My name is Dan Sheehan. I am the president of the New Paradigm Institute. Thank you for being with us this week.
To join the citizen movement for disclosure, visit newparadigminstitute.org/take action.